7 and the quest for the dragon's comb. The unusual assassin. On a small island tucked away in the ocean, there lived a young man named 7. He wasn't like the assassins you read about in novels or see in action movies. No, he was far from being a cold-blooded killer. In fact, he wasn't even a professional assassin. He was an amateur, armed with a pair of trusty hairdressing scissors and an uncanny ability to disguise himself as almost anyone. He worked part-time as a hairdresser in a small, rundown salon, and when he wasn't cutting hair, he was trying his hand at being an assassin. But his career wasn't exactly taking off. 7 had a reputation, just not the one he wanted. He was known for botching jobs, leaving behind bizarre and confusing crime scenes, and somehow making it out alive with sheer dumb luck. One day, while trimming the hair of a rather disgruntled customer, a pigeon flew in through the window and dropped a letter in his lap. 7 sighed. "Another job?" he muttered. "This had better be worth it." The letter was from a mysterious client. It simply read, "Retrieve the dragon's comb. Payment, 1 million yuan. The dragon's comb. 7 raised an eyebrow. 1 million yuan. That was more than he made in a year, and, let's face it, it was more than he deserved considering his track record. But the allure of the reward was too great to ignore. He read on. The dragon's comb was an ancient artifact said to grant the user immense power. It had been lost for centuries, but recently rumors surfaced that it was hidden in the mansion of an infamous underworld boss known as Red Claw. Red Claw was feared across the island for his ruthless nature and his elite squad of deadly assassins. 7's heart sank. Going up against Red Claw? That was way above his pay grade. He tossed the letter aside, trying to focus on his next haircut, but the number 1 million kept floating in his mind. Dai Bo, 7's manager and talking chicken, don't ask how this happened. It's a long story, waddled into the salon. "What's that?" Dai Bo asked, eyeing the letter. "Just another job," 7 said casually. "No big deal. Just need to sneak into Red Claw's mansion and steal some comb." Dai Bo's eyes widened. "Red Claw? Are you crazy? That place is a fortress. You won't make it past the front gate without being skewered." 7 sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Yeah, probably. But think about the money. 1 million yuan. Dai Bo. We could finally get a decent place to live. Maybe even upgrade this salon." Dai Bo scratched his head. "Well, I suppose with your disguises you might stand a chance. But you're going to need a plan. And backup." The plan. 7, for all his clumsiness, wasn't completely hopeless. He had an unorthodox approach to assassination that involved very little killing and a lot of misdirection. His disguises were his greatest weapon, though they rarely worked as intended. The plan was simple. Sneak into the mansion during one of Red Claw's infamous parties, blend in as a servant, find the dragon's comb, and get out without being caught. Dai Bo, despite his reluctance, agreed to help from a distance. They scouted the mansion, observing the guards and the security systems. It was a high-tech fortress, brimming with surveillance cameras and deadly traps. Fortunately, Red Claw had one glaring weakness: his love of extravagant parties. Party crashers. The night of the party arrived, and 7 stood outside Red Claw's mansion dressed in a waiter's uniform. His plan was to blend in with the staff, serve drinks, and slip into the restricted areas unnoticed. Dai Bo, disguised as a party guest, clucked nervously nearby. As they approached the entrance, 7's nerves began to get the better of him. "This is a terrible idea," he muttered. "I should have stayed home and cut hair." But it was too late to turn back. A massive bouncer stood at the door, checking invitations. 7, thinking on his feet, whipped out a fake ID badge, hoping it would pass as legitimate. "Here to serve drinks," he said with a wide grin. The bouncer looked at him suspiciously, then glanced down at Dai Bo and, "The chicken?" Dai Bo puffed out his feathers. "Entertainment. I'm a magician. Watch, I can disappear." Before the bouncer could react, Dai Bo vanished into the crowd, leaving 7 alone at the entrance. The bouncer, thoroughly confused, waved Seven inside. The mansion of mayhem. Inside, the party was in full swing. Red Claw's mansion was a gaudy, over-the-top palace filled with loud music, flashing lights, and an assortment of strange characters. Seven weaved through the crowd, carrying a tray of drinks and pretending to blend in. He kept his eyes peeled for the dragon's comb, but as the night went on, things started to go awry. His first disguise, a waiter, was quickly blown when he tripped over a decorative vase and spilled drinks all over one of Red Claw's top lieutenants. "Who the hell are you?" the lieutenant growled, glaring at Seven. Thinking fast, Seven changed tactics. In a flash, he whipped out his scissors and gave the lieutenant an impromptu haircut. "I'm the new stylist," he said, completely deadpan. The lieutenant, now sporting a sharp new look, blinked in surprise. "Not bad," he muttered and walked away. Seven sighed in relief. Close one, but his troubles were far from over. As the night wore on, Seven encountered all sorts of bizarre situations. A drunken assassin challenging him to a sword fight, a mysterious masked guest trying to recruit him into a secret organization, and a runaway tiger that had somehow escaped from Red Claw's private zoo. The Dragon's Comb. After a series of misadventures, Seven finally stumbled upon the vault where the Dragon's Comb was kept. It was a small, ancient artifact, encrusted with jewels and glowing faintly with an eerie light. As he reached for the comb, an alarm blared throughout the mansion. "Intruder alert!" Seven's heart raced. He grabbed the comb and stuffed it into his jacket, bolting out of the vault just as Red Claw's guards swarmed the area. With no time to lose, he switched into yet another disguise, a poorly executed version of Red Claw himself. The guards, clearly not the sharpest tools in the shed, mistook him for their boss. "Red Claw, what's going on?" one of them asked. Seven, struggling to keep a straight face, barked out, "Just a false alarm. Now go, secure the ballroom. I'll handle this." The guards saluted and ran off, leaving Seven dumbfounded. "I can't believe that worked," he muttered. The great escape. With the comb in hand, Seven raced through the mansion, dodging guards and party guests alike. He met up with Dai Bo, who had somehow managed to secure a stolen golf cart as their getaway vehicle. "Hop in," Dai Bo shouted. The two sped off into the night, with Red Claw's goons hot on their tail. The chase was a wild one, filled with explosions, flying chickens, and Seven's endless stream of bad luck. But in the end, they managed to escape, barely. The truth about the comb. Once they were safely back at the salon, Seven finally had a chance to examine the dragon's comb up close. To his surprise, it wasn't some ancient relic of power. It was just a very expensive hair accessory, likely used by Red Claw to style his luxurious mustache. Dai Bo stared at it in disbelief. "We went through all that for a comb?" Seven shrugged. "Hey, 1,000,000 yuan is 1,000,000 yuan." But as they sat there, basking in their bizarre victory, a knock came at the door. Seven opened it to find the mysterious client who had hired him. "Well done, Seven," the client said with a sinister smile. "Now, hand over the dragon's comb." Seven hesitated. Something about the client didn't feel right. "Why do you want it so badly?" Seven asked. The client chuckled. "Let's just say, it's not the comb that's valuable. It's what's hidden inside." Before Seven could react, the client pulled out a remote and pressed a button. The comb began to glow, its jewels shifting and revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a small, glowing crystal, one that pulsed with a strange, otherworldly energy. Seven gulped. "Oh no!" The final showdown. The client revealed their true identity. They were a powerful assassin who had been hunting the crystal for years. With it, they could harness unimaginable power. A final, absurdly over-the-top showdown ensued. Seven, armed with only his scissors and a series of increasingly ridiculous disguises, fought to keep the crystal out of the assassin's hands. In the end, it was Seven's sheer unpredictability and dumb luck that won the day. The crystal was destroyed, the villain defeated, and the comb returned to its rightful, and much less dangerous, state. Back to normal with the mission over, 7 returned to his life as a humble hairdresser. He didn't get the $1,000,000 yuan, but he did get a free meal from Dai Bo, which was good enough for him. As he swept up the salon, he sighed. You know, Dai Bo, maybe I'm not cut out to be an assassin. Dai Bo looked at him, deadpan. You think? 7 grinned. But hey, at least I've got a great story to tell. And with that, 7 went back to his strange, chaotic, but somehow always entertaining life as an amateur assassin. A new rival. A few weeks passed, and life returned to its usual rhythm. 7 spent his days trimming hair, while Dai Bo continued running his barbecue chicken shack and trying to keep 7 out of trouble. However, it wasn't long before another strange opportunity knocked. Quite literally. One afternoon, as 7 was cutting the hair of an elderly customer who kept falling asleep in the chair, a sharp rapping came from the salon door. Standing in the doorway was a tall, elegant figure dressed in black robes, a scar running down their face and a piercing gaze fixed on 7. My name is Wu Xian, the figure said, voice cold. I've heard of your accomplishments. They said the word accomplishments with a hint of disdain, clearly not impressed. 7 looked up from his client, still holding a pair of scissors mid-snip. Yeah? Can I help you? I am the greatest assassin on the island, Wu Xian declared, taking a step forward. But lately there's been talk. About you. 7 raised an eyebrow. Me? People are talking about me? Yes, Wu Xian sneered. They say you're the new rising star. The one who defeated Red Claw and saved the dragon's comb from falling into the wrong hands. Dai Bo, who had been standing in the corner pretending not to listen, snorted. Yeah, rising star. More like rising disaster. But Wu Xian wasn't listening to Dai Bo. I challenge you, 7. A duel. Let's see if you're worthy of the reputation you've gained. 7 blinked, completely taken aback. Wait, you want to duel me? Why? I'm just a hairdresser. Wu Xian glared. Your time of pretending to be a nobody is over. Meet me at the abandoned temple on the mountain tonight. If you don't show, everyone will know you're a coward. With that, Wu Xian spun on their heel and disappeared out the door, leaving 7 standing there with his mouth hanging open. Okay, what just happened? 7 asked, still holding his scissors. Dai Bo waddled over, shaking his head. What just happened is you're about to get yourself killed. Wu Xian isn't just any assassin, they're the best. You're in way over your head this time, 7. Training, sort of. Later that day, 7 paced around the salon nervously, thinking about how to handle Wu Xian's challenge. Dai Bo, ever the practical one, decided it was time to prepare 7 for the duel. We'll start with the basics, Dai Bo said, pulling out a makeshift training dummy made of a broomstick, a watermelon, and some old clothes. You need to improve your fighting skills if you're going to stand a chance against Wu Xian. 7 held his scissors awkwardly, staring at the dummy. Do I really have to do this? Maybe I can just talk my way out of it. Dai Bo clucked. Talking isn't going to help when Wu Xian's coming at you with a sword. Now try attacking the dummy. 7 took a deep breath and swung his scissors half-heartedly at the dummy. The watermelon head wobbled slightly but didn't fall off. Dai Bo sighed. That was pathetic. You need to focus. Imagine the dummy is your enemy. 7 nodded and tried again, this time putting a little more effort into his swing. The scissors sliced through the air, and to Dai Bo's surprise, they somehow hit just the right angle to knock the dummy's head clean off. Whoa! 7 exclaimed, eyes wide. Did you see that? Dai Bo stared in disbelief. Okay, maybe there's hope for you yet. The abandoned temple. Night fell, and 7 reluctantly made his way to the abandoned temple, high in the mountains. The temple, covered in vines and moss, had an eerie feel to it. Shadows danced across the stone walls as the wind howled through the cracks in the building. Wu Xian was waiting for him, standing in the center of the courtyard, their dark silhouette illuminated by the moonlight. They held a sleek, black sword in their hand, the blade glinting ominously. "You showed up?" Wu Xian said, their voice echoing in the empty space. "I didn't think you would." Seven took a deep breath, trying to keep his cool. "Yeah, well, I couldn't just let you tell everyone I'm a coward." Wu Xian smiled faintly. "Good. Then let's begin." Before Seven could react, Wu Xian lunged forward, their sword cutting through the air with deadly precision. Seven barely had time to dodge, stumbling backward and nearly falling over his own feet. "Whoa! Hey! Can we talk about this?" Seven shouted, frantically dodging another swipe of Wu Xian's sword. Wu Xian didn't respond, pressing their attack with lightning speed. Seven, despite his lack of formal training, somehow managed to avoid most of the strikes, his awkward movements turning into a strange, unpredictable dance. As the duel continued, Wu Xian began to grow frustrated. Seven's clumsy style, combined with his bizarre luck, made it nearly impossible to land a hit. It was like trying to catch a fly with chopsticks. "What are you?" Wu Xian muttered, their face a mixture of confusion and anger. Seven, panting heavily, grinned. "Just a really bad assassin, I guess." In a final, desperate move, Wu Xian went in for a powerful overhead strike, aiming to end the duel once and for all. But in that moment, Seven's instincts kicked in. He raised his scissors and blocked the strike, the blades meeting with a loud clang. To both their shock, Wu Xian's sword snapped in half. There was a long, awkward pause. Seven began, holding up his scissors. "These things are stronger than they look." Wu Xian stared at the broken sword, then at Seven, and finally sighed in defeat. I can't believe this. The unexpected outcome." Wu Xian, completely bewildered by the outcome of the duel, sheathed what was left of their sword and walked away in silence. Seven stood there for a moment, still trying to process what had just happened. Dai Bo, who had been hiding in the bushes nearby, ran over. "You actually won. How is that possible?" "I have no idea," Seven said, still clutching his scissors. "But I think I just got really, really lucky." The news of Seven's victory spread quickly across the island. Wu Xian, despite their pride, admitted defeat and left the island, vowing to train and return one day for a rematch. Meanwhile, Seven's reputation as an assassin, however accidental it might be, continued to grow. People began to whisper about the mysterious, bumbling assassin who somehow always came out on top, even against the most fearsome opponents. But Seven wasn't interested in fame. He just wanted to cut hair in peace and avoid any more near-death experiences. Another job. Despite his best efforts, Seven's newfound reputation as a master assassin led to a steady stream of job offers. One day, while sweeping up the salon floor, another letter arrived, this time delivered by a flying drone instead of a pigeon. "Here we go again," Seven muttered, opening the letter. The job was simple, on paper at least. A wealthy collector wanted Seven to retrieve a rare gemstone from a heavily guarded museum. The payment? 2 million yuan. Dai Bo looked over his shoulder, reading the letter. 2 million? That's double the last job. "Yeah, but you remember how the last one went," Seven said, sighing. "It's never as easy as it sounds." "True," Dai Bo agreed. "But think of the money. We could finally retire. No more haircuts, no more assassination gigs. Just a life of luxury." Seven shook his head. "Somehow, I doubt it'll be that simple." And, of course, it wasn't. The museum heist. The museum heist was yet another series of misadventures that showcased Seven's unique brand of chaotic incompetence. Armed with his disguises and a few questionable gadgets, Seven infiltrated the museum under the guise of a security guard. Things went wrong almost immediately. His fake ID was upside down, his walkie-talkie malfunctioned, and he accidentally triggered several alarms while trying to avoid them. But as always, luck was on his side. Through a series of bizarre coincidences, Seven managed to outwit the museum's security team, though not intentionally. At one point, he tripped and fell, knocking over a display case and sending a priceless vase rolling into the path of the guards, who then chased after it instead of him. By the time he reached the room where the gemstone was kept, Seven was sweating profusely and completely out of breath. "There it is," he gasped, eyeing the glittering gem in its glass case. "This better be worth it." He carefully removed the glass cover and snatched the gemstone, tucking it into his pocket. But as he turned to leave, a familiar voice echoed through the room. "Well, well, well, look who's here." Seven froze, recognizing the voice instantly. He turned to see none other than Red Claw, the underworld boss he had tangled with during the Dragon's Comb fiasco. "You again," Seven groaned. "Haven't you had enough?" Red Claw grinned, cracking his knuckles. "I never forget a grudge, Seven. And tonight you're going down." Chaos in the museum. What followed was pure chaos. Seven, in his usual style, stumbled his way through the museum, with Red Claw and his henchmen hot on his heels. He ducked behind priceless artifacts, swung from chandeliers, and accidentally caused several expensive exhibits to be destroyed in the process. At one point, he used a stuffed polar bear as a makeshift shield, much to Red Claw's frustration. "Stop running, you coward!" Red Claw shouted, dodging a falling statue. "I'm not running," Seven yelled back. "I'm strategically retreating." The chase eventually led to the museum's rooftop, where Seven found himself cornered by Red Claw and his goons. With no way out, Seven took a deep breath and prepared for the worst. But in a moment of pure luck, or perhaps destiny, a passing flock of pigeons swooped down, startling Red Claw and giving Seven just enough time to escape by jumping onto a conveniently placed zip line. He slid down the zip line, the gemstone safely tucked in his pocket, and disappeared into the night. Back to square one. After yet another successful, albeit chaotic, mission, Seven returned to the salon, exhausted but victorious. He handed the gemstone over to the client, collected the 2 million yuan, and sat down in his chair, staring at the ceiling. "I don't know how I keep getting into these situations," he muttered. Dai Bo, now counting the money, shrugged. "I don't know either, but hey, it's working for us." Seven chuckled, shaking his head. "I guess. But next time, maybe we could just have a normal day? You know, no assassinations, no heists, just peace and quiet." Dai Bo snorted. "You? Normal? I wouldn't count on it." Seven sighed. "Yeah, probably not." And so, life on the island continued, full of chaos, laughter, and the never-ending adventures of Seven, the world's most unpredictable assassin.